Hello everybody and welcome to this very special episode of Kiki with Quing D. Like I said, this is a very special episode because it is what? Pride Month. So this is going to be the very special Pride edition of Kiki. With that being said, so all of the segments in this episode, the topics will I can't talk today. All of the segments in this episode, the topics will of course be LGBT related. But yes, since it is Pride Month, you know the main thing I'm looking forward to this year is the parade, which is this Sunday. So not only is there, this Pride episode of Kiki, but there will also be a special episode of Double Dose coming out this Saturday. So make sure that you subscribe to the Double Dose channel, follow Double Dose on Instagram, SoundCloud, all that, so that you can be the first to hear the episode. But of course, every Pride there is the parade, and that will be the first segment for this episode. But let me tell you how I was actually in the Pride Parade. So I was volunteering for this project that I used to volunteer for called Robot Philly, and we were offered a spot in the parade. And me being one of the youth, that was actually working with the project, of course they brought me along. Plus, I have a lot of energy and charisma, and they knew I could get the crowd hyped, so that's why they invited me. So I remember I showed up. I had on my I had weave back then. I think I still have a picture. If I do, I'll put it right here. But and video, whatever. Any coverage I still have from that day. But I showed up. I had my little cropped Robot Philly shirt. I remember I had on my shorts because I knew it was gonna be hot. And sure enough, that day it was really, really hot. I remember having to show up early, and even usually early in the morning it's a little bit cooler, but for some reason it was still hot that day. And I remember a lot of standing around. I was starting to get so irritated because I think the parade might have started late that year, because I remember standing around doing nothing, and I was starting to get agitated because I wanted to go. I wanted to hurry up and start moving. And then not only that, but Robot Philly, we were behind a big organization. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was AT&T or T-Mobile, something like that. It was somebody big, and that meant that we were kind of in the shadow. We were literally in their shadow. So I really had to bring it. So when we finally did get moving or whatever, who was it? I think TD Bank was giving out whistles and stuff. So I had my little whistle, and I was doing my little toot to the toot to the toot, and I was voguing in the streets and stuff. I was really giving it my all, because I had to bring as much attention to Robot Philly as possible. Because like I said, I was the only youth in the group, which meant I was with a bunch of adults, and them adults, they wasn't going to be doing too much dancing. They left that all to me, and I was the only one. So that meant I had to be extra. I had to amp it up. So that's what I did. And of course, I got some attention. People was cheering me on or whatever, and I was making it work. But by the time we got to the actual festival, because there's the parade and then there's the festival with the parties and the drinks and all that extraness. Once we finally got to the festival, bitch, I was tired because I had just got done doing all that dancing in the street and the sun at that, and now I can't even party at the John because I'm tired as hell. And I was broke that day. I had no money on me, so I couldn't buy me no drink. I couldn't buy me nothing to eat, no nothing. And it was just thinking about it's making me tired and winded. It was a lot. But best believe I will be walking in the parade again this year. And this year I am walking with the Addict Youth Center. There's a LGBT youth center here in Philly. So yeah, it is finna be lit. Ooh, I just kicked the camera. It's finna be lit. Finna do it all again, but this time even better. So that concludes this Let Me Tell You How, and on to the next segment. Keeping with the Pride theme, we are going to move into this next segment, commonly, which y'all all know as Screen Queen, where I give y'all, my little take on movies and TV shows, etc., etc. And in this episode, I'm going to be giving you guys my own personal review of this new show on FX called Pose. Yes, it is, in case you haven't heard about it, it is this new show on FX, and it's all about the ballroom scene, all the queens and the houses and all that jazz. And I had a lot of high hopes going, like all the hype that led up to the show. I had a lot of high hopes for this show, and it came through. I was living for the entire thing. Now, first, y'all know I got my little phone here for my handy dandy notes. All right, so first of all, it all takes place in the 80s, which I didn't know at first. I didn't know it took place in the past, but it all takes place in the 80s, which was another plus for me because the 80s is like my favorite decade. Even though I was born in the 90s, grew up in the 2000s, but I love the 80s. I love the music, I love the fashion, all of that. So the fact that it took place in the 80s, it was like, okay, y'all want me already. All right, and then like I said, it's centered around ballroom culture. So I'm trying to figure out how do I explain ballroom culture to people who might not know what that is. Watch the show, and the show can show it better to you than I can explain it. The ballroom scene is a major part of gay culture, so the fact that the whole show is centered around that was like, okay, like it's another plus. This show is bringing ballroom culture to mainstream the same way RuPaul's Drag Race kind of brought drag to mainstream audiences. So think of it like that. My third point, that it tackles a lot of serious issues. Like, it's not all fun and games. Like, this is a legit, well-rounded, serious show. For example, it tackles how gay people were like dealing with like HIV. HIV is still a thing, but it's a very big thing in the 80s. Like, it was known as the gay disease and all that. Oh, and AIDS, all of that. So one of the main characters, she finds out that she does have HIV, and she's kind of like living with that. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna see all of the struggles she goes through throughout the rest of the season. Also, it shows like kind of like being rejected after coming out. Like, not all coming out stories are like happy-go-lucky. And then it also showcases like having to resort to prostitution in order to stay afloat. Like, you know, it's a lot of like serious stuff tackled in the show, which is why people should watch it, because it shows that, you know, being LGBT, being queer is not all fun and games like how these other shows make it out to be. Like, it is some real shit. So on a lighter note, my fourth point, the style in this show is impeccable. Like I said, I already love 80s style, but the fact that this, like I said, it takes place in the ballroom scene, so it's like amped up. It's like all of the clothes. It's the one character. I don't know what her name is, so I just call her the mother. But she was always serving a look. Every scene she was in, she was serving a look. You would never catch her looking bummy. She was a bitch, but she was a fierce bitch. Like, she was a bad bitch. I was like, yes, high cheekbones and everything. Oh, fifth thing, another thing I liked was that it was a mainly black cast. Like, I wasn't expecting that going into it, but it was like, I won't say like Black Panther black, but it was a lot of African American characters, and they introduced there was a couple of Latino characters like throughout the Junjun, but you gotta watch to understand like what I'm trying to say. But mainly ethnic, like racially diverse. That's what I'm getting at. The show is very racially diverse. There we go. Ooh, words. Oh, speaking of the cast, so the characters, very relatable. Like, well, at least for me. Like, anyone who's LGBT, you will find someone to relate to in this show. Like, you'll be like, OMG, like, I know exactly how that person feels. Like, that's how the show has very good writing. But speaking of the writing, my only like bad thing or whatever is, because you can't blame this on the writing. It's just like the actors themselves. There aren't a lot of big names in this show, or at least none that I knew going into it. Only person I knew was Evan Peters, I think is his name, from American Horror Story. That's how I know him, and he's like the main white character in the show too. But other than that, everyone else is kind of like a newcomer, or at least in my eyes, they're newcomers because I haven't seen them in anything. So some of the acting was like some parts just came off a little cringy. I was like, okay, but not cringy enough to make the show like not enjoyable. You know, it's just like, okay, they just don't have that much experience. You know, Plain and simple. Last and final point. Like I said, since it does take place around like in ballroom culture, there's a lot of like dancing. As y'all know, I'm a dancer and I live for some fierce voguing, some choreography, all that jazz. And all of the choreography is really good. Like it's very enjoyable. You should definitely sit down and watch it. It comes on 9 o'clock every Sunday on FX. The show is also rated TVMA, mature audiences. So don't watch it around no little kids and nothing like that. Okay. But that is my review of Pose. Right now, judging off of the first episode, I'll give the show an 8.5 out of 10. Because I can't give it a perfect score, but it is really, really good. So it gets an 8.5 out of 10. This is actually my first review that I can think of. This is my first review on Kiki. Huh. Well then. Anyway, we are going to move on to the next segment. Alright, now we're going to move on to the next episode, which y'all all know as Bops of the Week. There's literally a Bops of the Week segment in every episode. But this segment will be a little bit different because if y'all have been watching the previous episodes of Kiki, I've kind of been skipping this segment, just telling you about the playlist or whatever. But this one has a little more depth. This is an actual segment, okay? Alright, in this segment of Bops of the Week, I will be giving y'all my typical, top 10 songs I've been listening to throughout the week. In this episode, I will be giving y'all my top 5 LGBT anthems. The songs that I've been listening to, or at least that I do listen to get in that, pride mood. You know what I mean? Okay. At number 5, I have Let's Have a Kiki. Normally I listen to the Glee version, but I also like the Scissor Sisters version. That's the version that I usually hear when I'm out and about. So I've grown to love both versions. But Let's Have a Kiki, okay? It's kind of what inspired the name of the show. In case you don't know what a Kiki is, it's kind of a gathering. It's when you and your friends or whatever, y'all kind of get together, y'all just have fun or whatever. So that's how the name of the show came to be. It's just me and you guys. We're all gathering together, having a conversation, and I'm talking to y'all about whatever it is I need to talk to y'all about. So at number 4, this is a little bit of a cop-out, but I just put all RuPaul songs. Because I can't just pick one RuPaul song. Literally all of his songs are LGBT anthems. You can't just bump to one. I listened to all of them. So I don't know, I can't pick a favorite. I really can't. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Call Me Mother from the American album. That's if y'all have been looking at my Bops of the Week playlist, Call Me Mother has been on that playlist consistently, damn near every week. That's my favorite RuPaul song. But all of RuPaul's songs are LGBT anthems. At number 3, this was another cop out. I put both LGBT and Crayons by Cupcake. Okay, LGBT from off her Audacious album, and then Crayons from her most recent album, Euphorize, however you say that word. But because LGBT, that was her little shout out to her LGBT fans. That one came first, and the video was lit too. When I first heard this song, I was okay, Cupcake. That's I was already living for Cupcake nasty ass before then. But the fact that she made a whole song for us, I was okay. And then when I heard when Euphorize came out, and then I saw Crayons, I'm okay, she really lived for the queens. I'm okay, Cupcake, I see you. So if you are LGBT, I suggest you listen to both of those songs because they will become your new anthem. So next up, finally, we just have one song. At number 2, I have, of course, Born This Way by Lady Gaga. Duh. Every gay boy knows that Born This Way is the gay anthem. I don't even think I need to explain Born This Way. At number 1, I have Haters by Tajik Hall. I don't think everybody knows who Tajik Hall is, but in case you don't know who Tajik Hall is, aka one of my biggest inspirations, Tajik Hall is a singer, he's an actor, he's a dancer, choreographer, he does all that jazz. And on the soundtrack from his show, he has a song called Haters, which is basically like a big F you to all the haters. So I highly suggest you listen to the song and watch the video. You can't just listen to the songs, you gotta watch the videos too, because that's what gets you into it. But that is my number one. And then I also have some honorable mentions, because I was trying to keep this a top 5, so I had to have some honorable mentions. Those being Gooder Than a Mother from Star, The Boss from Star, and Be Alright by Ariana Grande. Yeah, those are my honorable mentions. But to conclude this segment, I just wanted to let y'all know I also have a Pride playlist. That's why that's why it's not like the Bops of the Week, because I've been listening to my Pride playlist lately to get pumped up for this weekend. So I will include the link to that down in the description. And now we move on to the next segment. Alright, so we are going to wrap up this episode of Kiki really quickly with this final segment, which I call What's Next. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I will be releasing Let Me Tell You How episode for my coming out story, just like how I just recently dropped my first time getting high episode. There will be another one for my coming out story, so look forward to that. It'll be coming out sometime this month. It'll definitely be coming out in the month of June. Okay. No exact date, just the month of June. Like I also said earlier in this episode, there will be a Pride themed episode of Double Dose coming. That I actually do have an exact date for. That is coming out this Saturday around 5, I believe, on here on YouTube. That's when it's scheduled to come out on YouTube. It'll be coming out on SoundCloud that same day. It'll all be coming out Saturday. Okay? And then last but not least, as I announced in episode 2 of Double Dose. See, this is why you have to watch everything. You have to watch Kiki, you have to listen to Double Dose, you have to really get into everything so that you are up to date on everything that is going on. Like I announced in episode 2 of Double Dose, I am currently working on getting my music on streaming services. It'll be called Deontay. On Double Dose I said the Deontay album or whatever, but I'm officially calling it Deontay Volume 1. Because I'm pretty sure as I continue to make music, there will always be similar situations where there's the songs I make versus the songs where I use beats from other producers, whatever. So Deontay Volume 1 is my first body of work, completely comprised of all the songs I produced on Coronation, plus 5 brand new songs, so that for the people who are paying for these streaming services, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, they aren't just getting the same shit that they've probably been listening to for free on SoundCloud. They'll be getting new stuff as well. So it's a little bit of an incentive to stream it instead of just listening to it for free on SoundCloud. There is currently more information about that album on my website. So like I've said in all the other episodes of Kiki, and every video I've posted up to this point, make sure you look at my website. My website oftentimes has all the information you need before I even announce it in these videos, because sometimes I can't just get to the video quick enough. So yeah, that concludes this very special Pride themed episode of Kiki, and I will catch you guys on the next one.